But the last thing that we're going to get to on this edition of the Rock News Roundup podcast is this week's new releases. 2025 is here. As I mentioned earlier on in the show, I just posted a video up on the YouTube channel about the 2025 rock previewing some of the big releases that are coming out over the next couple of months. But this week, actually, surprisingly enough, for the first big New Music Friday of 2025, we got 3 pretty big new rock releases. And the first one I want to mention is coming this Friday from Scottish rockers Franz Ferdinand. I don't want to do these bad accents. The Human Fear. That wasn't even a Scottish accent. The Human Fear, the new album from Franz Ferdinand, comes out this Friday. That is their 6th studio album. It's their first new album with their new drummer, Audrey Tate. So this is actually their first new album in 7 years since Always Ascending. I can't say I've listened to a ton of Franz Ferdinand over the years. It's been a while since we had new music from them, but I do have a soft spot for them because they were huge when I was in university, when I was in college. They kind of came out in 2004, I believe, with that debut album, Would Take Me Out, and that was such a huge hit. Although I wasn't a huge fan of it back then, I do have fond memories of hearing that song and really listening to that record. That first record was great, even though I never really followed the band much after that. But there are some good tracks so far that we've heard from the Human Fear. Audacious, which is the first single, I think that's actually really, really good. It has that kind of spiky, bass-driven Franz Ferdinand kind of verse leading into a really melodic chorus. So Audacious was cool. Night or Day is the other single that we heard from Franz Ferdinand off this new record, The Human Fear. And it's not too bad. So if you like Scottish rock, if you like UK rock, which I know a lot of fans and a lot of viewers here on the channel really do enjoy, the new Franz Ferdinand is out this Friday. And then if you want to go a little bit heavier than Franz Ferdinand, we have the new record from Tremonti, the guitar player from Creed. His new record called The End Will Show Us How is also out this Friday. This is his 6th solo studio album. Mark Tremonti has stayed very, very busy because he got back with the reunited Creed, and they've been doing their thing. They've actually been doing really, really well. Creed have been thriving, going out there and playing shows and just rocking crowds. And then he's been making music with Alter Bridge, which is another great act with Miles Kennedy on lead vocals on that one. They put out a record a couple years ago called Pawns and Kings. And then he's putting out this solo stuff as well. Really, really heavy from what I've heard on this record so far. I've really, really dug it. I know that Wolfgang Van Halen used to be a member of Tremonti, and this album, the songs that I've heard so far kind of remind me of Mammoth WVH, but there are some good songs on here. The Mother, The Earth, and I, One More Time. I'm not sure if I'm going to review it here on the channel. I'm definitely going to review the new Franz Ferdinand. That's kind of in first position for a rock album review this weekend, but Tremonti might be in there as well, so we'll see. And then taking a look at another final big release in the rock music world coming out this Friday, January the 10th, Ringo Starr, Mr. Richard Starkey, Sir Richard Starkey, Ringo Starr, one of the Beatles. I got the signs over here. I got my discography sign here. The Beatles, not Beatles, Ringo Starr, putting out another solo record this Friday called Look Up. And Ringo has released a lot of music over the last few years. He's released multiple EPs. The most recent one was called Crooked Boy, which came out not too long ago, and that featured production from Linda Perry, who's worked with everybody. It featured guest spots from Nick Valencia of The Strokes, among others. And Ringo, the quality of the music may vary, but I just love that Ringo's still around. The man's 84 years old. He's still making music, and I want him to make music as long as possible. And I'm excited to hear this because he's going back to his country roots. Like Ringo Starr, when he first went solo, back in 1970, after the breakup of the Beatles, he started going back and doing some more country and western standards that he grew up with, and that was on a record called Boku Blues back in 1970. And he's done all sorts of different genres over the years, but I think this is really cool to see Ringo going back and doing some country music. So his new album, Look Up, comes out this Friday, January the 10th, if you want to check that out. Overall, not a bad start to the year. January tends to be a little bit slow when it comes to new rock releases, but it's great that we got new Franz Ferdinand, their new album, The Human Fear, Tremonti, The End Will Show Us How, and Ringo Starr, Look Up. I'll definitely be reviewing the new Franz Ferdinand on the channel this weekend. Tremonti and Ringo Starr, we'll see, but definitely Franz Ferdinand. So that's a look at your new rock releases coming out for this Friday, New Music Friday, January the 10th.